Okay, and let's go one by one. Who wants to start? Tony, do you want
Uh, I want to start.
Okay, go for it.
I've been really stressed lately because I am worried about disappointing people. It's making me want to not participate in my life, to just observe it from far away. I don't know what to do. I want to hide away and disappear. And what should I do?
Okay, so I guess what we're talking about here is regulating your emotional state and also feeling like you can take on the world, you can take on the challenges, and this isn't something that you need to hide away from because the pressure is too much, because sometimes we all feel completely overwhelmed by whatever we're facing. And maybe stop me if I'm misinterpreting this a little bit and correct me, but I'm just going to tell you from my perspective, if that was how I was feeling, what would come to me. Yeah. So let's say that even if you don't want to participate in the world, you want to see reality as it is, you don't want to resist that. You want to immediately say, okay, the reality of the matter is right now I want to check out. Right now I don't want to participate in the world, but I still want to be in the world, which means who are you in that moment? In that moment, you're an observer. You want to observe, you want to check in, you want to watch it as if it were a movie, but it didn't affect you. You didn't have any personal stakes in it, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So we need to let go of this resistance that you would immediately have to the idea that right now you don't want to participate, and say, no, this is the way that it is. And there's no need for me to be resisting that, because what do observers do? And you know, what are observers better at? Observers are better at noticing things. They're better at noticing people. They're better at noticing facial expressions, tone of voice, subtle gestures, the needs that other people have. And people who are talking, they don't have the ability to do that, because people who are talking, they're self-absorbed. They're focused on themselves. It's all performance-based for them. It's all about how well do they think they did, how well do they think other people reacted to them. But you, when you're there, when you're located in the room, you can watch other people and you can learn about other people, which are all very rare and valuable skills. So instead of saying, I shouldn't be going through this moment in my life, maybe you can say, I am being something else in this moment in my life, and I am still bringing something to the table. But also you can ask yourself, okay, is there something in me that maybe right now is suffering from low esteem that hasn't previously allowed me to do that, something that triggered this? And more likely than not, what you would discover is that you don't have a history of being prioritized. Whether it goes back to childhood, whether it goes back to a little bit later in life, you have a history of being surrounded by people who were prioritizing themselves. And by prioritizing themselves, they were conveying to you the message that you are less valuable than them. But you have to challenge that. You have to say, is that so? Am I truly less valuable than these people? Because unless you challenge that, and if you adopt this belief that something's truly less valuable about you, you're going to be constantly recreating the cycle of lopsided relationships, where basically you unknowingly and unconsciously overvalue other people, and then you undervalue yourself, and then you feel devalued by other people, and then you want to break off that relationship because it's no longer serving you, and then you go ahead and you isolate yourself because you fear abandonment, because you fear the devaluation cycle beginning one more time. And this isn't serving you because you think you got the solution, but you didn't get the solution. You just removed yourself from the mirror of life. You broke the feedback mechanism that is alerting you to the idea that there is an issue, and it's an issue that isn't being solved by removing any ability to get a painful reflection basically in your life. So you have to realize there's nothing wrong with you in this moment, or generally there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. However, there is something wrong with this perspective that you have. So what you need to change is you need to change your perspective. Let me help you a little bit with that. For example, these qualities that you have as a result of not having participated as much as many other people, they made you, amongst other things, they gave you positive They gave you positive aspects and positive qualities. For example, you're probably a better listener at this point than most people. You're probably a better observer than most people. You are probably kinder than most people. You probably have a deeper inner world than most people. You're probably more able to regulate and recharge your own batteries through that deeper inner world, and not through needing to get attention from someone, not through needing to be seen, to be the center of attention. You can be alluring in unimposing ways, as opposed to people who must absolutely get their way all of the time. So if you consider these qualities, if you consider that you're bringing them to the table, then you have to ask yourself, in which environment for these qualities, for my deep inner world, for my better perspective, for my better observing skills, for my better listening skills, for the subtle arts of seduction that I have mastered compared to other people, where can I be more appreciated? And you have to find an environment where you don't have to constantly say, give me your attention. I want to be the leader now. I want to be the center of attention now. You have to find an environment where people naturally give you a turn, because that's what they do in that environment. They give all the people a turn, and your turn comes, and then you can speak up, and then you can show what you bring to the table. And also you could look into your environment, and you could see if you could find somebody extroverted, somebody absorbed with themselves, somebody really confident that could adopt you and benefit from the skills that you bring to the table, and create a sort of exchange. Say, here's my soft skills for you, and here's your ability to draw attention, to draw investment, to draw momentum, to draw energy to yourself. Maybe we could mutually benefit each other. And you just need one person. You don't need a lot of people. You just need one person. So yeah, and the last thing that I would say to you is, you worry way too much about what other people think of you. Again, it goes back to that dynamic where you haven't been prioritized, and you think that your opinions are less valuable than other people's, and you have to, like a muscle that you haven't been practicing, that you've been using in one direction, you have to learn how to use that muscle in another direction, and you have to tell yourself, my opinion matters more than other people's opinions. It's not necessarily that it does, it's that that's the kind of skill that you need to develop. You have to say, not what do other people think of me, you have to say, what do I think of other people? Do they pass my tests? Do they qualify? Do they go under my radar? Because your perspective of yourself is lopsided, it's incorrect. And you need to understand that you developed a lot of talents and skills as a result of that lopsided perspective that right now you can bring to the table. Yeah, is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right, a lot of information. Sorry about that. Nela, do you want to?
Well, I wanted to ask. Well, there is somebody I'm interested in, and I'm sure there is mutual. I hope so. But he doesn't do anything at all about it, and I don't know. I don't really understand what is he waiting for. So should I make the first move, maybe?
Okay. So let's go with the positive perspective here, right? Let's just say you're absolutely correct, and there is some mutual attraction happening there, but you are being feminine and you're being womanly, and you want him to make the first move. And why do you want him to do that? Well, because you understand that even if attraction is very strong, and even if desire is very strong in the initial stages of any kind of romantic relationship, it's still very fragile. And it's very fragile, and this desire, it's based on a few things. It's based on what? It's based on dignity, your dignity especially. It's based on mystery. It's based on tension. And when you make the first move, what do you do to the mystery? You take away the mystery. Now it's clear that you want something to happen, right? You take away from your dignity a little bit too, because in reality, every woman wants a man who is a little bit more proactive than her, who chooses her, who chases her. She doesn't really want to make the first move, you know? So you're taking a little bit away from the dignity, and you're taking a little bit away from the desire. You're taking a little bit away from his desire at the moment in time, because he wants to to feel like he conquered you, he got you, he chased you down. Normally, he would want, like most masculine men would want to feel that, but also you're taking away from your future desire if you do that and if he says yes. Because if he says yes, if he allows you to be the initiator, if he allows you to be the one that pursues him, unconsciously you will start seeing him as somebody who is more passive, who's more submissive, who's more feminine. And as a result of doing that, what you're setting yourself up for is destroying the kind of polarity that the two of you have. You're saying, I'm going to be less attracted to you in the future if you take my bait, but I'm so anticipatory right now that I'm going to give you the bait anyway. And that is not what you truly want in reality. You are a storyteller in reality. You came here to write beautiful stories. That includes beautiful love stories. So what do women usually do when they want to have it clear that they want a man to make a move, that they haven't chosen him out of everyone, but they would like for him to participate in the possibility of attaining her? They drop the handkerchief, right? It's the historical thing where it's like, well, you pick it up for me. So what you do is you invite, and if he isn't too dense, he's going to see the invitation, and then he's going to accept the invitation, or he's going to reject the invitation. And then you can start on this dance, a dance where hopefully, in order for the desire to be maintained, in order for your future tension, attraction to be maintained, he is going to be the one leading. And your moves will be in response to the moves that he initiated, because people really care, and people really fall in love with how they see themselves by your side. And these days, for whatever reason, it's become rare to find a woman who allows a man to feel like a man by her side. So you will immediately stand out from any potential competition if you allow him to feel like by your side, he is the man. By your side, he is the valiant one. By your side, he is the brave one. He is the one that is able to pursue you and to get you. It is a step up compared to another woman who could come in and initiate with him. And she could have fantastic qualities. All the other qualities that she has could be amazing, but he won't feel like a man by her side, but he'll feel like a man by your side. So it's a reflection kind of your self-worth, where you're saying, I'm not going to be giving you any discounts. I'm not going to be doing your work for you. You want this, you come and get it. You show me that you deserve it. You show me that you're worth it. And the fact that I think that you're pretty right now isn't going to change the fact that you have to do the work in order to be able to deserve this. And in the meantime, well, I'm sure that there's more signs that you could look out for and feed your imagination with to see if this is what you originally interpreted it to be. For example, let's say, does he try to pry into your past romantic relationships? Do you get questions such as, are you romantically involved with someone? Did you have a boyfriend? Did you have a husband? How long? With whom? Where? Why? What for? Usually, if somebody is really interested in you, they'll go ahead and they'll try to assess where you're at, if you're truly available, what the past competition was, things like that. And he'll probably compete a little bit for your attention. And I don't just mean that he'll compete for your attention if he sees you in the company of another man, a man who's paying attention to you. He'll compete for your attention even against the little things that you do, the things that you're passionate about, the hobbies that you have. Like when you tell him, when you recount these things that you did, he will try to show you that spending time with him is better, basically. That because in his mind, he already took a little bit of positive ownership of you. He already created this picture of the two of you together. And he wants to convince you, even though he doesn't realize that that is what he's doing, that he would be the greatest source of happiness and fun in your life. And therefore, there's kind of a little bit of competition taking place there. Then you'll notice there's some basic grooming. There's some basic grooming in your presence. He grooms himself, he grooms his car, he grooms his apartment. If you ever go over and you see that the living room's completely clean and then you use the bathroom and notice the bedroom's in shambles, you know they probably cleaned up before you came over. And that probably means that you are special in one way or another. And another thing that you can look at is you can assess the kind of person that this is. And once you know the kind of person that this is, you can ask yourself, what did they put in their shadow that they still like? And do I have some of these qualities that they have in their shadow? And you can also ask yourself, how do I think they feel in my presence? Because a person who feels good about themselves in your presence is always going to want to spend a little bit more time with you. So all of these are positives, but in the meantime, you as a magnificent creator know that whatever it is that you're striving for is going to come about, but you're not going to sit around waiting for it. You're not going to be in that mode of, I'm waiting, I need to, I hope to. You'll say, no, life is now. This is going to be a fantastic story when its turn comes. But in the meantime, I have other relationships to enjoy, potentially even other romantic relationships. I'm not going to be closing doors to those opportunities. I have a lot of things that I enjoy in my life. And quite frankly, I like you a lot, but let's be honest, you'll be really lucky to get me. So, yeah.
Okay.
Overload of information, sorry.
Yeah. Well, a lot of thing to think about it. Well.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be fabulous, and you enjoy the unfoldment. This is precious. One day it will be a precious memory, and it's on record.
Thank you.
Do you want to ask a question, little one?
Hello. So I've been separated from my twin flame, and I've been feeling really unhappy. How do I stop feeling these unhappy emotional states? And how do I feel this emptiness that used to be happiness?
So you didn't used to be separated from your twin flame, but you are separated right now,
Yeah.
and that's why right now there's an emptiness inside of you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's ask this: are you unable to love them because you're away from them? No, you're not, right? You can still love them when you're away from them. You can still admire them when you're away from them. You can still adore them when you're away from them. You can still wish them well when you're away from them. So then you have to ask yourself, what is the true source of your happiness if all of these positive emotions that you could feel towards them before, you can still feel them now? And you might then discover that the source of your unhappiness is that you are unable to see them validating you, and you are unable to see them giving you attention and giving you affection. Because if it's really a twin flame connection, going back to what are twin flames, essentially they're soulmates, but they're kind of one soul seed that's been split into two, right? So that's not a connection that you can break. It doesn't matter how much you screw up in this world. It doesn't matter what you do. It is a connection that will always be there, regardless of how much you worry about it, how much you let it go and don't even think of it. It's just something that is. And therefore, there's really no problem with the idea that you're going to lose them. You can just let them be. You can love them at a distance. But what you want is validation, attention, affection, their attention, and you are suffering because you put it into them. You said, I'm not going to feel validated unless you give that to me. I'm not going to feel like I am important unless you give that to me. I'm not going to feel like I matter unless you give that to me. And because people tend to project onto other people, we tend to project our needs onto other people, and we also tend to project our guilt onto other people. Therefore, what then we want from another person, what then we accuse another person of, usually exists in us on some level, at some measure. That's why we can recognize it in another person. So what you have to recognize right now is that there are people in your life whom you're not validating, whom you're not giving attention to, including yourself. You have to ask yourself, whom is it in my reality? Me, my pets, my relatives, my friends, my hobbies, that I could be giving this gift of attention, affection, validation to, that I'm not doing right now, that I am seeking someone else to do that so I can feel like I have a full cup. But if I start doing that for someone, if I start giving that to someone, then by definition, in order to be able to give it, I must have it. And in order to have it, I must be it. Therefore, if I'm giving somebody else this kind of validation, I must be validation. And once you become validation, the world as a mirror reflects that back to you. It gives you back from one source or from another source that kind of validation, affection, attention. And right now it seems to you like they're the whole universe because you made them that primary source like no other for yourself. You made yourself feel important through that connection with them, like maybe they did with you also. But you have to understand that once it starts once the loop starts working, once it starts coming back to you, it won't be a big deal if it comes to you from another source. And you will learn to take that little step by little step to accept how you feel right now, to accept that you always want to be and will be connected to this person, but also to accept that it's not a needy kind of connection, that the things that you're trying to get from them, you projected onto them. But the reality of the matter is you have these things inside of you because you are an extension of God's love. And because you are love, you don't need someone else to give you love or to feel like your life is completely empty unless you have it. Yeah, is that
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
all right?